So in prokaryotes, there is lack of nuclear membrane, whereas eukaryotes have a definite nuclear membrane. Now in eukaryote, you have definite organelles, whereas in prokaryotes, many of these organelles are poorly organized. For example, in some of the photosynthetic bacteria, the chlorophyll is present in membranous vesicle or bag-like structure and not in plastid or chloroplast. In plants which are eukaryote, you have plastid. A particular plastid is chloroplast. So here the photosynthetic pigment chlorophyll is found inside the chloroplast. Whereas in case of prokaryote, the chlorophyll is present where? Inside the membranous vesicle. We had studied virus in the beginning. Virus lacks any membrane. So virus lacks membrane. Virus lack membrane and they do not show life activity until they enter inside a cell. So they will not have membrane bound structure. Now moving on to the cell organelles. Inside the cell, you have a thing called endomembranous system. Inside the cells we have endomembranous system. We have what? Endomembranous system. Endo means inside, membrane you all know, membranous system. So what are these endomembranous system? If you go into the endomembranous system, these are endoplasmic reticulum, Golgi, lysosome, vacuoles, etc. Now, in case of mitochondria and chloroplast, their function are not too much coordinated with the above component, above three. That is why they are not considered as a part of the endomembranous system. Now let's take a look at this diagram, which represents the endomembranous system. This diagram represents the endomembranous system. Now take a look over here. This is the nucleus. This is your ER or endoplasmic reticulum. Attached just outside the nucleus is endoplasmic reticulum. Then you have this component, that is Golgi. Golgi or Golgi body. Then these are the vesicles, secretory vesicles. So here things are being taken out of the cell vesicle. This is ER, then Golgi, then vesicles. So from ER things are going to Golgi and then they are moving out. So let's first take up ER, endoplasmic reticulum. So this is a network of membrane bound tubes and sheets. Take a look over here. These are tubes and sheets. Membrane bound tubes and sheets. So long tubules and this. This structure is similar to the plasma membrane. This structure is similar to plasma membrane. If ribosomes are attached, we call them as rough ER, RER. And if ribosomes are not attached, we call them as smooth endoplasmic reticulum or SER. If ribosomes are attached, we call it as rough ER, and if ribosomes are not attached, we call it as smooth endoplasmic, SER. So in case of RER, you have presence of ribosomes on the surface. So ribosomes are present in active cell or most of the cell. They will be present in all the cells. and they are the site of protein synthesis or protein manufacture. Ribosome are the place where the protein is synthesized inside the body. Now what happens? The ribosome, which is attached to the endoplasmic reticulum, makes the protein enters inside the ribosome and enter inside the endoplasmic reticulum, and then it further movement start. The manufactured protein are sent to various places in the cell depending on the need using ER. So the ribosomes that are synthesized by the protein that are synthesized by the ER, protein synthesized by the ribosomes are sent to different places in the cell through ER. Now, ribosome, then ER, then Golgi, then excretory vesicle, or it can even go to lysosome. It can even go to lysosome. So that is the pathway. Protein that is made by the ribosome, will take this path, ER, Golgi, either excretory vesicle or lysosomes. Then you have smooth endoplasmic reticulum, SER, smooth endoplasmic reticulum. Rough endoplasmic reticulum, you have presence of ribosome, and smooth endoplasmic reticulum, this helps in the manufacture of fat or lipid. This helps in the manufacture of fat molecules. Remember, fat or lipid synthesis occurs on SER, and some of these protein and lipid help in the formation of the cell membrane or the plasma membrane, and this process is called membrane biogenesis. Bio means biological process, genesis means formation. So that is how membrane formation takes place. Protein is being made by ribosome and fat is made by SER. Protein made by ribosome gets attached to the rough endoplasmic reticulum and then moves through, and smooth endoplasmic reticulum, SER, is involved in the formation of lipid. Plasma membrane or membranes are made up of lipid and protein. So one component made by SER, that is lipid, another component protein made by RER. Another thing, smooth endoplasmic reticulum plays a critical role in detoxification of many poison and drug or chemical. The food you take or water we take may contain different type of chemicals. They will finally go to liver, and their detoxification takes place. Even in case of alcohol detoxification occurs in liver, detoxified in liver. That is why in case of alcoholic there is liver cirrhosis or liver damage. Liver cirrhosis or damage occurs in case of alcoholic patient. Why? Because the detoxification is done in the liver. Even when we are taking many drugs, say we are consuming a paracetamol or any other drug we are taking, any antibiotic or any say chemical you take will go to liver, and then liver changes it into harmless form, and then it is excreted out. Harmless form, and then it is excreted out. That is why in case of and this is primary in liver, and that is why in case of suspect death, biochemical analysis of liver viscera content and kidney is done. In case of suspect death, biochemical analysis of liver tissues, viscera content and kidney is done. So if any poison is given, that poison would be present in these cells. It would be present in these cells. Another function of ER is to serve as channel for transport of material between the various regions of the cytoplasm or between cytoplasm and nucleus. So endoplasmic reticulum also acts as a channel for transferring the various products inside the cell. They act as a channel for transportation. Then the next component is your Golgi apparatus. Golgi. Take a look at this diagram. This is the nucleus. These are endoplasmic reticulum, ER, and this is your Golgi. So attached to the nucleus is endoplasmic reticulum, and then beyond that is your Golgi. So ribosome makes protein over the ER, then the protein are carried to Golgi and then further outside. This diagram gives you a very good idea. Things start up at ER, then from here things move to Golgi, and from Golgi it can move out in the form of excretory vesicle. ER to Golgi and Golgi to excretory vesicles. Now Golgi consists of take a look over here. In this case of Golgi apparatus, we have large number of flattened vesicles which are arranged nearly parallel to each other, not perfect parallel, but large number of vesicles arranged parallel to each other. It consists of large number of vesicles arranged parallel to each other. So these vesicles are arranged parallel to each other, approximately arranged parallel to each other. So, and they also have connection with the membranes of ER, and that is why they are the part of endomembranous system or the complex cellular membranous system. The material that are synthesized on the ER, that is both protein and the material synthesized include what? Protein and fat. that is packaged and dispatched to various target inside and outside the cell through the Golgi apparatus. From ER things move to Golgi, and from Golgi it can move to lysosome, peroxisome, or it can move out of the cell. Therefore, the function of ER include storage, modification, that is change, and packaging of product for transport to different component or outside the cell. So they can store, modify, or pack the product. In some cases, complex sugar can be made from simple sugar in Golgi apparatus. And Golgi apparatus is an important site of glycoprotein formation. Glycoprotein is what? Sugar added to protein. Sugar attached to protein. That is your glycoprotein. Sugar attached to protein. So complex sugar are made, and these sugars can be attached to protein, that is your glycoprotein. Glyco means glucose. Glucose stands for sugar. Now this Golgi apparatus is also involved in the formation of lysosomes. Golgi apparatus is also involved in the formation of lysosomes. The enzymes are packed properly and then they are sent to the lysosomes. So one is glycoprotein, another is glycolipid. So if glucose is attached to fat, it is called glycolipid. Glycolipid is what? Glucose attached to fat. Or sugar attached to lipid. So if attached sugar to lipid is called glycolipid. That is called glycolipid. Then lysosomes. Lysosomes are membrane bound sac made up of membrane, and they contain digestive enzymes. See, ER, Golgi and lysosome are a connected structure. Things start on ER, then they move to Golgi, and from there they move to lysosome. So the enzymes are basically protein in nature, and protein synthesis occur on rough endoplasmic reticulum. Now these enzymes can be all type of hydrolytic enzyme. Hydro means water, lytic means breaking up. Water and lytic means break. So they attach a water molecule and they break it. So they attach water molecule and break it. So hydrolytic enzymes. So lysosomes contain hydrolytic enzyme. Now some of these enzymes are lipase, protease, carbohydrates, etc. And these are active at acidic pH. Acidic pH. So these enzymes can digest almost all component of the cell, whether it is carbohydrate, protein, lipid or nucleic acid. Now they are a kind of waste disposal system. This is very important. Lysosome are the waste disposal system, and they keep the cell clean by digesting any foreign material as well as worn out cell organelle. Say this is a cell. Now in this cell, say this one is nucleus. I am making a bigger nucleus, and say this is mitochondria. Say this one is mitochondria. And if the mitochondria is not working properly, it becomes, or it loses its function. The lysosomes will come over here, they will digest it, and they will break down. The lysosomes will come all around, and they will pour out their enzyme on this mitochondria and digest the mitochondria. That is how lysozyme acts as the cleaning system of the cell. Lysosomes act as the cleaning system of the cell. So they digest foreign material as well as non-functional organ. Both can be digested. The foreign materials also that foreign material can be a bacteria, food or old organelle. So they break these complex substances into simpler substances. Why? How the lysosome functions? With the help of its powerful digestive enzyme, and they are capable of breaking down all organic matter. This is called mitophagy. This is called mitophagy is digestion of mitochondria. So non-functional mitochondria are digested by lysosome, and this process is called mitophagy. This process is called mitophagy, and this has important application. This has important medical application. Mitophagy has important medical application. Now by the process of mitophagy, the defective or means non-functional mitochondria were broken down and their components are reused. If mitophagy is not working properly, that is why the term dysfunctional mitophagy, then survival of nerve cell will be affected. Researchers have found that if you improve mitophagy, that is the cleaning system, particularly in brain cell, then the chance or the severity of the Alzheimer disease is reduced. So in case of Alzheimer, certain improper protein and other component gets deposited inside the nerve cell. So if the mitophagy process is working properly, or lysosome system is working properly, the non-functional component will be digested and removed. Sometimes there is disturbance in the cell mechanism itself. Now in this extreme case where the cell functioning gets affected, sometimes the lysosome can burst open and the enzyme digests their own cell. Therefore, this is the reason why lysosome is also called as suicidal bag of the cell. Suicide bag. Why? The lysosomal enzyme can digest the component or the cell itself. This happens in extreme cases. That is why this question has been asked many a time in state PCS, and now it is not being asked in UPSC, but state PCS have several times asked this question, suicidal bag of the cell. That is why lysosome is called suicidal bag of the cell. Lysosome is called suicidal bag of the cell. Lysosomes also play a big role in metamorphosis. You have to remember this term called metamorphosis. Metamorphosis. There are two terms. One is growth. There are two terms. One is growth, another is metamorphosis. There are two terms. One is growth and metamorphosis. Growth you will find in higher organs. For example, humans, animals. In humans, animal, the size of the organism grows, whereas the basic structure remains same. So humans have growth. Humans and mammals have growth. Even as a child, we had 2 legs. We did not have 3 or 4 legs. Whereas in lower animals, there is a phenomenon called metamorphosis, particularly insect, amphibia, etc. You have this phenomenon of metamorphosis. What is metamorphosis? Different stages in life are quite different from each other. Different stages of life are quite distinct or quite different from each other. Let us take, for example, the case of silkworm. Now, in case of silkworm, the silkworm lays eggs. These are the eggs. Then from eggs you have this caterpillar. The caterpillar or larva. Egg, then larva or the caterpillar. This is the larva or the caterpillar. First you have eggs, then you have larva, and after that larva is a voracious eater. It keeps on eating. Then it changes into, the larva changes into pupa or cocoon. We boil the cocoon and then get the silk. After that it changes into, so most of the farmers, what they do, the silkworm rearers, they will boil this pupa or cocoon in water. The pupa gets killed and then the silk is spun out. And if you do not do that, then it will change into imago or butterfly, and then it changes into imago or butterfly. So this is the process: egg, then larva, then pupa, then imago or butterfly. So all the 4 stages are quite distinct from each other. Whereas in case of mammal, whether it is human or cow or buffalo, the structure remains same. That is why metamorphosis process is different from growth. Metamorphosis process is different from growth. Now this pupa or cocoon have been used for a long time for silk production. The Chinese are using the term ancient silk route. So you boil the pupa in water, the pupa gets killed, and then you take out the silk. So you have different varieties of silk found in India. some of the variety are mulberry, tasar, iri, munga. Mulberry, tasar, iri and munga, these are the various variety of silk found in India. These are the various varieties of silk found in India. Now the scientific name of the mulberry silkworm, the scientific name of the mulberry silkworm is Bombyx mori. Bombyx mori. Mulberry you will find in parts of South India and also Kashmir area. Mulberry. Then another unique silk which is found only in Assam is Muga. Muga, this is the golden silk of Assam. Golden silk of Assam, Muga. And here the silkworm is different, Antheria assama. Here the name of the silkworm is Antheria assama. So different type of silkworm give rise to different quality of silk. We may not remember all, but remember mulberry silk, and this one is important, Antheria assama. This is found in only Assam area, in the Brahmaputra valley. Now recently, not recent but in the recent decade, Muga silk has got the protection of geographical indicator. Geographical indicator. This is one of the component of intellectual property right. Geographical indicator is one of the component of IPR. One of the component of IPR. So it got the GI logo for trademark in 2014. Geographical indicator says that the uniqueness of that product is due to that particular geographical location. Uniqueness is due to geographical location, then work of the local community, etc. Work of local community. Now, there can be other silk which can be golden color also, but that cannot be sold as Muga. So only the silk that is cultivated in Assam can be marketed as Muga. Only Assam grown, not other area. That is the purpose of geographical indicator. Only the Assam grown silk can be sold in the market as Muga silk, not others. Not others. Now, silk is basically protein in nature. Silk is protein in nature, and it has two components. One is sericin and fibroin. So the natural silk is protein, sericin and fibroin. These are the two components of silk. That is why natural silk will not catch fire easily. Will not catch fire very easily. Whereas polyester and other component, polyester and other, they catch fire very easily. The synthetic clothes catch fire easily. Silk cloth will not catch fire easily. That is one of the basic things. Next important organelle is mitochondria. Mitochondria is also called powerhouse of the cell. We call it powerhouse of the cell. The reason is it produces the energy molecular ATP. mitochondria produces ATP, that is the energy molecule or the energy currency of the cell. Mitochondria is a double layered double membrane organelle. It has two layers, the outer membrane and the inner membrane, and the matrix is there inside. Mitochondria has outer membrane and the inner membrane. The inner membrane is folded into structure called cristae. The inner membrane is folded into structure called cristae. So they have a double membrane cap. Now these cristae, the purpose of cristae is what? Increase the surface area, and they are the site of aerobic respiration. So basically glucose is oxidized to CO2 and energy. Now these cristae increase surface area for ATP generation for the chemical reaction, and this ATP is used for different purpose. ATP is the energy currency of the cell. Most of the function inside the cell is carried out by ATP. There are other chemical also, but primarily it is done by what? ATP. There is another energy currency, energy molecule called GTP also. There is a thing called GTP, guanosine triphosphate. GTP stands for guanosine triphosphate, but most of the work is done by ATP. But most of the action inside the cell is done by ATP. Another unique feature of mitochondria is that they have their own DNA and ribosome. Only mitochondria and chloroplast have their own DNA and ribosome. This is unique feature, and that is why they are able to make some of their own protein, and that is why mitochondria are considered to be semi-autonomous organelle. Fully autonomous means totally independent. Semi-autonomous means some decision can be taken by them also. So mitochondria are semi-autonomous organelle. Why? Due to presence of DNA and ribosome. So the other semi-autonomous organelle is chloroplast. Only two organelles are considered to be semi-autonomous. One is mitochondria and second is chloroplast. This question has been asked multiple times. Which of the following organelle is semi-autonomous? So remember, mitochondria and chloroplast. Only two organelles are autonomous. One is mitochondria, second is chloroplast. Now all our mitochondria come from mother side. The mitochondria comes from which side? Mother side, or we call it as maternal inheritance. In case of mitochondria, we have maternal inheritance. Why? In sexual reproduction, you have the process of fertilization. In fertilization, say this is the egg. This is the egg, or I am making a bigger one. This is the egg. And this is the sperm. Now, during fertilization, sperm enters inside the egg. During process of fertilization, sperm enters inside the egg. But what happens? Only the head of the sperm enters inside the egg, and the tail remains outside. The tail portion remains outside. Now mitochondria in case of sperm is found in the tail. Mitochondria in case of sperm is found in tail. So none of the father's mitochondria enters inside the egg. That is why 100% of our mitochondria comes from mother side, or we call it as maternal inheritance. So only the head enters, and the mitochondria of the sperm are found in tail. Tail remains outside. This you have to remember. So all our mitochondria is from mother side. Now if there is some deficiency in the mitochondrial DNA of mother, then all her children, whether it is male or female, whether it is a boy or girl, they will suffer from the inherited disease. Some of the inherited mitochondrial deficiency disease are diabetes, muscle weakness, dementia, poor balance, etc. Now to overcome it, a new technique has come into picture, that is called 3-parent IVF. 3-parent IVF is being used to improve the mitochondrial DNA deficiency. This will cover in detail. So 3-parent IVF is used to correct the mitochondrial deficiency. This is used to correct the mitochondrial deficiency. 3-parent IVF. Then there is another interesting. Mitochondria is important from the point of view of both prelims and mains. Lot of questions have been asked from mitochondria. Basic question was semi-autonomous organelle, and then the emerging question like 3-parent IVF, and the another important area is your DNA barcoding. This has been in lot of news. DNA barcoding. We have two terms over here: DNA barcoding and universal primer technology, UPT. DNA barcoding, and second is universal primer technology. Both function is same, but name are different. Basics technology is also same. One is DNA barcoding, and second is universal primer technology, UPT. Universal primer technology, UPT. This UPT, universal primer technology, was developed in India at CCMB Hyderabad, Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology, Hyderabad. So this is a DNA based identification process. This is based on the concept that a small segment of the genome can serve as a molecular signature or molecular marker. Based on small genome, you can try to identify the organism. This technique was developed by Dr. Lalji Singh and Dr. S.K. Verma. Lalji Singh is also the founder of an important organization called CDFD, Center for DNA Fingerprinting and Diagnostics. So Lalji Singh also pioneered the DNA fingerprinting process in India. Now, the UPT, Universal Primate Technology, is based on cytochrome B gene. This is based on cytochrome B gene found in the mitochondria. So the Universal Primate Technology uses what? Cytochrome B gene that is found in the mitochondria. So this can be used to identify different species of animals, whether it is birds, fish or animal species from the given biological sample. That is why it can be used to detect adulteration of animal meat. For example, mutton or goat meat. Goat meat is costly, so beef is mixed as an adulterant. Beef or dog meat can be mixed into goat meat. So by DNA barcoding or universal primate technology, we can identify the adulteration that has been done in case of meat product. We can identify the adulteration that has been done in case of meat product. Another is your wildlife crime. Say a tiger skin is found. We have to first identify the color may be similar to tiger skin. It might have been painted, but it may not be original. So to identify the sample, you use this technology UPT. So it can identify adulteration of animal meat, then identify species. So this is used to curb illegal trade, illegal trade in wildlife. So you get the sample, you establish what sample is there, and then you prosecute them. So wildlife trade is over $19 billion annually. Large amount of wildlife product go into China. China is one of the major culprit. Different type of animal things are consumed in China for different purpose, aphrodisiac, for treatment, etc., etc. Many of these are basically cultural thoughts. It can be also used for identification of invasive species. Invasive species are species coming from outside. Outside species. It can be plant, it can be animal, it can be microbe. Plant or animal. So outside species can come and can affect. This can also be used for identification of agricultural pest or biological control agent. Biological control means use of one biological organism against the other. Use of one biological organism against the other. For identification of indicator and keystone species. Biodiversity monitoring. How many varieties are there? Two species can appear to be very similar, but they can be genetically different. So that is your biodiversity monitoring. Biodiversity monitoring. Two species can appear to be very similar, but they can be distinct species. So one is your UPT and second is your barcoding. So UPT was developed in India by Lalji Singh, whereas DNA barcoding was developed by Professor D.N. Herbert in Canada. This became more popular because the name is appealing, DNA barcoding. And this is also based on identification of the unique target gene COX-1 of mitochondria. UPT uses one. UPT is based on cytochrome. We had discussed that cytochrome B gene. UPT is based on sequencing the cytochrome B gene. So you find out the sequence of the 4-letter ATGC. So UPT is on cytochrome B gene. Whereas DNA barcoding is based on what? Here the target gene is COX-1. This is the target gene. So you find out the sequence of nucleotide in the COX gene. So both UPT and barcoding is based on identification of the sequence in the sequence of nucleotide in the target gene. Now take a look over here. Universal Primer Technology. This is from Hyderabad, CCMB, Center for Cellular and Molecular Biology. So what are the application? Wildlife, detect adulteration in meat tissue, monitor distribution and migration of species. You can take out very small amount of the sample for both DNA barcoding and UPT and use it. Accurate and quick identification of species from tiny biological sample. Management of wildlife, man-animal conflict. You find out which animal is entering into the farm, exact identification, migration of species. So these are some of the other applications. Invasive species identification, agriculture pest. Recently you have locust. There can be different variety of locust. Find out the species of commercial value. Identification of biomedically important species. Ecologically important indicator and keystone species. Identification of the endangered species. Identifying the biological control agents. Quarantine inspection. When agriculture product and other product come from other country, we do inspection to find out whether any harmful invasive pest or organism is also coming or not. So for that we use quarantine inspection, environment assessment, biodiversity monitoring. These are some of the application of DNA barcoding and UPT. The next important organelle is plastid. So chloroplast is a type of plastid. They are found in plant cell, not in animal cell. Plastids are found in plant cell and euglena. Based on the pigment, plastid have been classified into 3 types: chloroplast, chromoplast and leucoplast. Chloroplast contains the green color pigment chlorophyll. Now chloroplast has the pigment chlorophyll and also other carotenoid pigments. Main pigment is chlorophyll and other carotenoid pigments. And these pigments are responsible for trapping light energy, which are essential for photosynthesis. So chloroplast is essential for trapping of light, and this plays important role in photosynthesis. Inside the chloroplast is the space called stroma. Stroma, or the ground substance inside the chloroplast, is stroma. Large number of organized flattened membranes called sacs called thylakoids are present in the stroma. So these are the thylakoids. These are there. For example, one thylakoid, second thylakoid, third thylakoid, fourth thylakoid, like this, one thylakoid kept over the other, and together they are called granum. Together they are called granum. The thylakoids kept over each other are called granum. The pigment chlorophyll is present in the thylakoid. The pigment chlorophyll is found in the thylakoid, and they are responsible for photosynthesis. So chlorophyll pigment is found in the thylakoids. Now, in case of photosynthesis, you have light reaction. So light reaction of photosynthesis occurs over here. Light reaction occurs on the thylakoid. Now, the ground substance is what? Stroma. The stroma of the chloroplast contains enzyme required for synthesis of carbohydrate and protein. This is the dark reaction of photosynthesis. One is your light reaction, another is dark reaction. So light reaction of photosynthesis occurs on the granum, and the dark reaction occurs in case of the stroma. It contains the enzyme, and it also contains circular DNA molecule and ribosome. That is why mitochondria and chloroplast are considered to be semi-autonomous organelle. So first type of plastid is what? Chloroplast. First type of plastid is chloroplast. The second one is chromoplast. Chloroplast. Then the second one is your chromo, that is colored plastids. They contain carotenoid pigments like carotene, xanthophyll and others. And this gives unique color like yellow, orange or red. Due to presence of different pigment, they have different color, yellow, orange or red. And the purpose of color is to attract insect for pollination and animals for dispersal of seeds. So color attract. That is why insect pollinated plants are colorful, have bright flower, colored flower. Insect pollinated plant have colorful flower. So color serves to attract the insect. And also attract animal. So if papaya is not yellow or red, it is green, it will not be attractive to the animal. Now when it becomes red or yellow, it is attracted to the animal, the animal comes over here, it eats the papaya, and then the seeds are thrown at here and there. That is why it helps in the dispersal of seeds. So first was chloroplast, green color plastid, then chromoplast, colored plastid. One more thing, chloroplast can change into chromoplast. For example, unripe mango and ripe mango. Unripe mango is green in color. Unripe mango, if we consider unripe mango, this is green, whereas ripe mango is red or yellow. So when the fruit is ripened, chloroplast can change into chromoplast. When the fruit gets ripened, chloroplast change into chromoplast. So different purpose and different functions are there. That is how nature or God has made things. So unripe fruit has chloroplast. When the fruit becomes ripe, the chloroplast changes into chromoplast, and this becomes attractive to the animals. They eat it, and after that they will not eat the complete thing. The seeds are thrown here and there, and that is how the process of dispersal of seeds happen. The third type of plastid is leucoplast. The third type is leucoplast, and these are colorless plastid. No color is there. Their main function is storage of nutrient. The main function is what? Storage of nutrient. For example, amyloplast store carbohydrate or starch. For example, potato. In case of potato. So amyloplast will store starch, for example potato. Elioplast, they store oil, for example mustard and other seeds. So they store oil and fat. Whereas aleuroplast, they store protein. In case of pulse, pulse contains what? Protein. So amyloplast is storing carbohydrate, elioplast oil and fat, and aleuroplast is storing what? Protein. After these organelles, the another component is vacuole. Another component is vacuole. Now, let me show you the diagram that we had seen in the very beginning. Let me go to the diagram in the beginning of the cell. This is plant cell. This is a plant cell, and this portion is vacuole. Vacuole is prominent in plant cell. In some of the plant cell, they can occupy more than 50% of the space. Vacuoles are very prominent in plant cell. In animal cell, generally they are very small or inconspicuous. The vacuoles can be very small. Take a look at this is the animal cell. So either absent or not inconspicuous. Whereas in case of plant cell, these are prominent. So vacuoles are prominent in case of plant cell, not animal cell. So they are prominent in plant cell and not animal cell. So they act as the storage bag. The point that was discussing, small size in animal cell. Whereas in plant cell, they can occupy 50 to 90% of the cell value. So they are prominent in plant, not animals. And they are full of cell sap, and they provide turgidity and rigidity to the cell. They provide turgidity and rigidity to the cell. Many of the substances which are important for life are stored in the vacuoles. Example, amino acid, sugar, various organic acid, and even protein. So large number of organic products are stored in these vacuoles in plants particularly. In some single celled organisms like amoeba, the food vacuole contains the food item that the amoeba has consumed. So amoeba consumes the smaller organism, and that is digested inside the food vacuole. In some unicellular organisms, specialized vacuole can play a role in expelling excess water and waste. So that is also there. In some of the unicellular means single celled organisms, vacuole can play an important role in excretion of waste. They can play important role in the excretion of waste.